right, guys, thanks for checking out another video here. We are working on the Wicked Edge, and I have a buck, and this is a 422 that I already did a review on part 1. This is part 2, and we're just going to start off. I'm going to show you. I got it in the Wicked Edge, and I'm just putting this line on. Hopefully the video turns out well. This is really hard to video, believe it or not. So we'll see. We'll see how this works. So what we got going on is we got the Wicked Edge. This is to line it up. You always want to put that piece on. I've already locked it. And what I'm going to do is just get going. I'm just going to get it going. I got it clamped in. I'm going to try to figure out what degree we want to get it at. I'm going to try to match the angle. Really, that's what I'm trying to do. So let's just see how close we are right now. So we're just going to, what am I at? I'm at about 15, 16, 17. Let's just see. Well, this might be a little tight. Yeah, that actually, I just guessed, and that looks to be about where I want it. So I'm hoping that shows up correctly on the video. Let me check the other side. I'm gonna just see I'm at the same thing. You gotta make sure these bottom pieces get tightened. So I'm just gonna see where that shows up. That looks about right too. So once you identify the right angle, and there's different ways to do that, the simplest way is to match the factory angle that the blade comes from. That's the simplest way. The other way is to use things like an angle gauge, and I have those. I might go through that in another video if you want to get more precise. But right now I'm gonna just leave it as is, and I'm gonna start with 100 grit, and I'm gonna start working on this side. It doesn't really matter, but you want to take a little bit off of each side, and you want to get the feel for how this feels. This takes a lot of practice, and nobody gets this right away. So you're better starting on some cheaper knives. If you're new to the Wicked Edge, you want to start on some cheaper knives and work your way kind of up. So let's just see how this goes. I'm going to start with 100 grit. We're going to take material off and go from there. One thing too, I just want to mention to people, it's super, super critical that you do it correctly on these first grits, because if you don't, it doesn't matter when you get to the next higher grits. It really just doesn't even matter because you don't have the angle right. So spend more time on these ones, like these lower ones, like 100, 200, get it right. Take as much time as you need, because if you get up to like 600, 800, 1,000 beyond, you're not going to be able to do it correctly, and it's not going to work. So nice thing with 100, it does take the material off really quick. It's looking pretty good. And what you can do too is grab a rag. You want to wipe off this dust, the steel shavings and the dust. And you can even see, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm already forming a burr. The fabric already started it, but we're not done. We got to keep going. So now you can start alternating if you want. Just be careful when you're doing this. I like to just look at that edge and make sure all the way along it looks right. And if you feel up like this, once you work a side too much, you'll be able to feel a little wire edge and a burr. We haven't gotten to that point yet. Everything looks pretty good so far. I got to work a little bit more on this side. You can't see it from that angle, but I'm just going to keep working it. And here you want to be careful you don't tilt it too much this way, because if you tilt it too much that way, you're going to dull that tip and it's going to be odd. So you want to just, the best thing is to go straight off like that, but sometimes you need to grind it down, and I've done this enough so I kind of know enough pressure to use right there so I don't mess it up. A little bit more right here. Sometimes these stages it's a really stubborn stage because you got to spend more time on this particular stage. Looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy. So now what I like to do is once I get it to where all the marker's taken off and it looks like that's all right, and you can tell that you're apexing it, then I do about 20 strokes to finalize it, and then I move on to the next grit. So we'll do about 20 strokes. And that's about it on the 100 grit. Now we can move on to the 200. So as you can see, that looks not bad. I know it's hard to pick up on the camera, but it's definitely not bad at all. So now all I do is, since I have 100 on this side, I just flip it to this side, and now I'm on 200. So I'm gonna just do the same thing. Move it up and down like this a little bit, just to get the feel of that 200. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now I'm going to do the strokes. Use a different cloth, start wiping off that grit. You don't want to contaminate it. And hopefully you guys can see that it's looking a little bit more refined. And at this point, we're actually done with those stones. And now we're moving on to 400 and 600. So I just put those right on here. These have already been cleaned. And we start the same exact process, just a little bit like this. I'll do the same thing on the next side. And always check to make sure your angles are tightened, the little knobs, because sometimes they get loose, and if they get loose, it pushes that angle either in or out, and it'll mess up your angle. So you always want to, after each stage, check those little screws to make sure that they're tight. I've done enough of these, and if you guys do enough of these, you'll see that those will actually get loose. Right now, one of the things you can do is if you take your thumbnail and you just grab it, you can feel it catch. And I don't know how well you can see that on my thumbnail, but you see how it caught. You don't want to do that too hard, just real gently. And if it slides across, you know that that area is not quite sharp. So you want to work on those areas a little bit more, preferably earlier in the process. Because as we go up and we progress to like 600, 800, you could work all day on 600 grit or 800, and it's not going to take much material off. It's more of a refining the edge scratches, and so you're really not taking a lot of material off as we go up. So that's why this is probably like the last stage where you can really influence it. Okay, we're going to move to 600 now. Same exact thing. Got to be really careful now when you use that. Oh, it's getting really sharp. So now we can move on to the next stage, which is 800 and 1000. So exact same sequence. We just put the 800 on, check the nuts on the bottom, make sure they're tight, and we'll just keep going up the ladder until this has got a nice finish on it. Okay, now we're moving on to 1,000. You can just hear by the sound that it's getting a lot smoother. And these are all diamond stones, by the way. Found that diamonds work a lot better than actual stones. And you'll see once we get to the final steps, these diamond lapping films just are out of this world. Damn, that's looking good. Okay, we're moving on to 1,500 diamonds. Here we go. And on my 15 diamond one, it has 1,500 on this side and a lapping film on this side. So, but I don't use the lapping film after right away. So here we go. Sometimes I just do that just so I can stabilize it. Listen to how smooth that is. You know we're getting, you know we're getting there when it sounds that smooth. All right, end of that one. God, that's looking good. It's very sharp. I mean, you can easily cut yourself now, easily. So we got 2 more diamond stages. Now I'm going to 2,200 grit diamonds. Here we go. And check your nuts on the bottom, just make sure you're tight. I'm not putting much pressure on. Literally, the weight of the rod and the stone is all the pressure I'm putting now. And it doesn't even take that many strokes now. That's about all we need. Now let's move to 3,000. That's my last stone. You should be able to start seeing a really nice finished edge. Now guys, we're on to the diamond lapping films. So we're gonna start with 6, because that's what I got here. Micron, that's 6 micron on this deal. And that's what they kind of look like. And this time you can only go out like this. You can only go out. Because if you went in, you'll cut right through that lapping film. This, you can just see in just a couple strokes, it starts mirroring it. Look at how nice of a mirror that is. I don't know how well that shows up, but with just a couple strokes, these are diamond lapping films, and I'm telling you, I've never seen anything better finishing wise than diamond lapping films. Now, the only problem is they're very expensive, and what you'll see is a lot of places selling the aluminum oxide lapping films. These came straight from Wicked Edge. Old the One, I believe, sells them. A few other decent, reputable places sell these, but and I'll put them in the links in the description. So if you want to see where I would recommend buying them, I think Wicked Edge maybe sells some of this stuff on their site, but look at how nice that edge is turning out now. Okay, that was 6 micron. Now I flip it. Now we're on to 3. Do the exact same thing on the other side. All these do now is just slightly refine it, like really slightly. But as you can see, it's got one hell of a mirror edge already. You don't even need to do that many. And yes, we are going to test the sharpness on the edge tester when we're all done. All right, we got one more set. The final stage. This is 1 and 0.5. And I write on here so I know which side is which. 1 and 0.5 micron. This isn't like as critical if you can't find the 0.5. Some people have said they can't find 0.5 anymore. Don't worry about it. I mean, if you can get 1 or 1.5, I mean, that's, I mean, it's just so, I mean, these are for the people that are really kind of wacky and need like an ultra mirror. Okay, now I flip it to the last stage. For me, it's 0.5. Looking good. All right, guys. That was the last stage. So I'm going to pause the video. We're going to come back and I'm going to do the sharpness testing in just 1 second. Thanks a lot. All right, guys, we just sharpened this up, got it to an ultra mirror finish. Look at that edge. It's just perfectly mirrored. You can just see how mirrored that is. Let's see how sharp this is on the tester. If we get under or around 100, we did a great job. So let's see how it goes. 1, 2, 3, go. 78. Oh my God. That's about as good as it gets. Let's take a look at the chart here. Anything under 100 is unbelievable. And you can see we are approaching right around that double edge razor side. This knife was somewhere around here when we started. I mean, it was dull as a rock. We got it under 100. That's what you're going for, folks. So again, check out some of my videos over here. A couple good videos on sharpening, and then hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Got lots of new content coming out. I'm going to be doing a lot of different sharpening videos. So check this stuff out, guys. Again, thanks a lot and have a great day.